Hello and welcome to Flooring Models Kit Review Time. Today we've got Revell's latest release. This is the 1/24th scale N-1 Starfighter. Obviously this is from the Mandalorian series. So yes, the old Starfighter, as we've seen down in here, I think it was the Naboo Starfighter, something else like that. And obviously this is the fully upgraded one. Been waiting for this one a long time. My only criticism to it is the scaling, which I was going to have a rant at the end, but I'll make you do it now, so wait for the review, is that I just wish that the companies would stick to certain scales all the way through with their models, because from a display point of view, because they're all over the shop, personal this is, it just thinks that it just looks a little bit untidy, that you're going from 1/24th to 1/48th to 1/32nd and so forth, let alone the figures, which I sort of get. But anyway, it is a big kit. It's quite a big monster, this one, so not too bad at all. Anyway, in the box, as you see, nice bit of box art on the front. Got a Hammerhead Corvette in the background and all the rest of it. So, some of the details you'll be getting. You can see some of the engine parts, some of the various things. So this thing's completely all cut open, really, as you can see. And we've got some details down here at the back with your colour callouts and your things like that as well. And your kit number for this one is 06787. All right. So I haven't even been in here, so we will cut in here together and see exactly what we get in the box. So we are greeted by typical open-ended box with a big clear base, quite a bit of plastic. It's not a total empty box, which is good. And so again, we've got separate bags, as you can see down in here, of multiple parts. We've got the base there and the canopy, things like that. We've got the instructions and decals, which we'll look at the moment. Gives you an idea. Quite a large lump. This isn't small, all right? So I just need to move this somewhere very delicately. So it's a half-built model, as I'm running out of room. And we've got another one over here with some more of the various parts. So as always, we'll start in the instructions. So we are greeted by quite a small decal sheet as well for that particular one. So we'll have a look at that in a moment. Anyway, instructions. So as you can see, big old screen. All right, so usual things, how to build a model, colour callouts, which again, it is, you know, obviously we're dealing with sci-fi, it's very, very difficult, but obviously not many of us actually use Revell colours. So you do have to do a little bit of whiffery on these ones. Luckily for this, it's metal, so it makes it even easier. Anyway, there's your sprue callouts and all the rest of it, just down in there. So starting off with the engines, straight away, going down in there, colour callouts as you go around. I do like these instructions, they're a lot easier to follow than the old ones, with the colour callouts and things like that put in. All right, so engine work going on there, we've got piping work going on there all the way through, building up all those details, because the engines are semi-exposed on this one. It's not like the other one. All right the way through. Then we've got the figure. He looks quite basic. Got some decals going down in there for his leg bands putting on there. Got the helmet going on, and again we've got decals for the visor. We've got a little Grogu who's going to sit in his lap, or on his thigh I should say, down in there as well. Then we've got the arms and obviously him all being fitted down in there. Then we've got a big old base plate for obviously adding all the details down in there like that. Cockpit sides, various things, so you're making up a cockpit right the way through with the instrument panel and that going on. So we've got decals making up the actual instruments as we go in there. Then usual thing, we've got top and halves, bottom, so it's doing the colour callouts now. Obviously probably we're going to do it when it's all together, but there you go, it's got them now showing you. And then we've got the engines being fitted to the tops of the wings, and then it'd say both sides, and then the underskirts being fitted down into it. All right, then we've got the rear end of the actual fuselage section going down in there as well, and depending where you actually want Grogu to actually be, you can either have him in his little cupola on the top, or you can actually have him sitting on the lap as well, so just depending which one you want to do with that. All right, and then obviously fitting out all the tail section, all the various parts going in there, covers for the actual engines all being fitted down onto the top. It's quite nice because it is semi-exposed. And then again, you've got different options down in here for the actual bays at the back. So again, you've got a version I think with the droid in the back, or you've actually got the open one with Grogu, depending which one you want to do down in there as well. All right, then obviously we've got, which does look like a carburettor from something, being fitted down onto the top of that one, and then the rear end of the actual engines being fitted down into there, and the intakes onto all of those ones. All right, then we've got the bottom side of it as well, so obviously the bottom plate is going to be fitted on and then fitted down below, and again detail call outs for painting right the way through, but to be honest, it's all going to be a mixture of metallizers or metallics. All right, all of those. The stand is clear, so obviously it's got a little in-flight stand as well, which is quite a nice touch, and then obviously he's just going to sit on the top just like that, and then probably a little bit more useful, got your colour call out sheet on the back, and then obviously decals as well for some of the markings, various parts in there. So again, not too over the top, quite straightforward. All right, the decals themselves, obviously they are done in Italy, so I'm wondering if they are done by a certain company, but who knows. All right, but again, very nice. The metallics on there are quite nice. You can probably see them shining through, and all the areas as well. And obviously we've got the build the bits to go on the Mandalorian himself. So yeah, that actually looks pretty darn good, nice and sharp with all of those. So into the bags, we have 8 bags. We have the main body looking like that, and again, this is that strange plastic that they've started using, all right, which is a lot harder than the other one. This one feels a little bit softer than what we've seen perhaps before traditionally, and also it looks to me you've got quite a bit of burring on the plastic as well. The way that the actual frames are, you might see they're quite organic. It doesn't look as sharp as the ones that we've seen on previous releases. So, you know, on the Razor Crest and on the not Slave one as well, this one looks like it's gone more back to the older type of plastic. It's more of the softer one to it. It doesn't look too bad, but to be honest with you, when I'm looking at it on the close-up, some of these areas, like we've got this panel lining just down in here, excuse my nails, this is all wash, I've been making up wash this morning, but you can see it's not that consistent. It's not perfectly sharp and nice all the way through. They look quite almost rough, the way that they actually are. We've also got various marks in the plastic which are bordering on sort of sink marks, but I don't think they actually are. It's just obviously the webbing textures through here. Obviously we've got a lot going on under this, but generally the detail doesn't look too bad. It's just a little bit soft. The only way I could best describe it, if you imagine this was once a 1/48 scale and they've upscaled it without making any sharpening, that's the only thing I would say. I don't think it's too bad, and I think it will come out all right. The only thing that also is going to worry me somewhat is there's a little bit of texture to this plastic, which I think you're going to need a nice good gloss coat over this before you're going to come in your metallizers if you want it to really pop. But again, if you wanted a fully weathered one, I wouldn't worry about it too much. But generally you can see we've got the engines, the various parts. I wouldn't say it's a detailed kit. I would say this is, you know, more like you know, an overdone click kit, if I'm with you, because it's all very softly and quite crudely done, which is a little bit sad that it is like that. I was hoping it's going to be a little bit more sharp, a little bit more refined, but generally it's pretty good stuff. But just looking at the way we've got these huge big locating tabs and that, it's all like a click kit than it is an actual model kit, if that makes sense. And seeing as it's level 3, I thought it might be a little bit more sharper than this. All right, so if we look on the bottom, we have got the great big Lucas stamp of approval down in here on the bottom. You can see written in there 2023 and all things like that. But generally, again, it's not disappointing and it's all here. It's just a little bit soft. I'd be inclined, to be honest, to pop around all of these panel lines and just sharpen them up. Just give them another quick scoring with it, just to give a sharper edge into them. Because it's, again, it's just, yeah, crude, I think is the word I'm looking for. Softly moulded, perhaps, I don't know. But definitely it's not as sharp as I was sort of hoping for. But it is all there. And you're going to end up with a very large lump. And again, I think generally, though, you can probably see the details are pretty darn good. All right. So I do believe we get one of, this is it, sorry, we've got 2 screws the same. I didn't know if they bagged them in the same bag, which they have, that makes it easier. Okay, so we've got a couple of bits down in here. So here's Grogu, who, yeah, he won't go massive about, but to be honest, he's all right. And then obviously here's his little cupola, which is going to be on the top for his little viewing area on sprue G. Or you can have the droid, which I think I'd have the droid in the back, and then obviously have Grogu as we got down here. But again, he is incredibly poorly moulded, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Trust me, you've got a 3D printer, I know where you'll be, all right? So again, that doesn't look too bad at all. And again, we've got that cupola with the droid poking through instead of the clear part, which makes sense. Which again, I think is quite nice. All right, then we've actually got the figure itself, which again looks a little bit softly moulded. Generally, instrument panel doesn't look too bad. But again, this type of thing, it's like, I don't know. I know, yes, okay, it's getting away, and obviously you can just bang it all in one piece and it's straightforward and away we go, and obviously we've got your cockpit down in here. But this is quite crudely done. It would have perhaps been better if this had been a separate part, a little bit more detail that dropped in, and things like that. But generally, yeah, it is what it is. You can see tons of flash on this, but there's no actually on the parts. And to be honest, I can't actually see any sink marks. So that's pretty darn good. The underside and the tail, as you can see down in here, and we've got Lando's helmet. So again, if we pop it this way, you can see generally it's all right. Got everything that you want. And again, it's a shame the helmet's split right down the middle, because that's what you've got. And again, some details on the inside. Not that you're going to see any of these, but hey ho, you know it's there. All right, then we've got two identical screws just here. So we'll just pinch one. All right, so down in here again we've got engine detail, and again it's just, the only best way I can describe it is soft. Softly moulded. It's not very sharp. None of this is sharp details at all. I wouldn't call this crisp, put it like that. You know, sometimes I'll talk about kits and they're crisp and sharp and you feel the details and they literally cut your fingers. You're not going to have it on this. This is all very soft and crude in a lot of ways. But generally, yeah, I think, you know, it's going to be all right. You're going to end up with something big, but I just we're hoping it'll be a little bit sharper, shall we say. All right, so we've also got, oh, I'm sure something just flew off then, which it did, which must be the canopy, I'm thinking. Let me just grab that. There it is. All right. So, big old bottom. It's crystal clear. You can see there's no distortion in any of that. Really, really nicely done. The stand is all in clear. The little cupola at the top, as we were saying, doesn't look too bad at all. You know, something like that. And the clear parts, actually, there's a little bit of scuff rub on this, which is a little bit annoying, but we can polish that out. But we don't have a centre seam or anything in, and actually you can see the distortion isn't too bad on this. It's pretty darn good. There's just a little bit of rub mark in here, which I don't understand because it's in a separate bag. So obviously these have been stacked maybe when they've been in the factory, but you can probably see them just down in there. There's a little bit of scratching right across that top. But again, you can easily polish that one out. That's not a mass big problem at the end of the day. So yeah, so really it's just a case of saying, is it worth it? Is it worth, you know, 55, 60 pounds for this particular kit? There's part of me that's a little bit disappointed, but there's another part of me that thinks it's an N-1 and it's massive and it's really exciting and it's good. But that's probably the Star Wars fanboy of me coming out at the end of the day. But you have got, you know, you're going to imagine, you can see how big this thing's going to be. So on the scale of my cutting mat, it's going to be pretty much filling it. So you are going to end up with something nice. I think personally, I would go around and rescribe all of this before you put it together, just to sharpen it up, give it some more details. May even just polish up some of these bigger areas and things like that with a little bit of, you know, 1200, 1500 grit paper, just to take a little bit of edging off of this. Definitely a primer coat, definitely a black gloss coat underneath it, and then get in there with extreme metals. That's the way I'd put this thing together. But it's cool, it's a big ship and everything else. I suppose from my point of view, I'm just a little bit disappointed that the internals and some of the engine stuff you see in this is so softly moulded, because you are going to look in these opened up areas. That's half the point of this particular kit being opened up, to see those details, and they're going to just look a little bit soft and a little bit of like, yeah, they're just in there. Instead of being, you could look right in there and see good, clean, crisp areas that perhaps you could add wiring to and detail. This is one of those, I think, would it be, you know, adding wiring and details, is it going to bring anything to it? Because the main parts are quite softly moulded. But generally though, I think it's one of those, a little bit torn on this one. Disappointed that it's very softly moulded and things like that. Happy that we got an N1, and it's massive as well. It's a big 1/24 scale one. But then at the same time, I mean, the other one that says Why can't we just make them all the same? Can't we just all have one 30-second scale, and then we'd have all the models in the same scale sitting on our display shelves with a little bit of history going between them and things like that, and it'd be a lot easier instead of jumping between the scales. I don't know. Let me have your thoughts down below. Anyway, that is Revell's Mandalorian N-1 Starfighter.